Hey, Teresa.
Hello, hi.
Oh,
Hello.
I hate it when you can see that your hair needs a cut.
It looks fabulous.
Well,
To
that
me, it
is
looks like it
so
needs a cut.
funny. That is so funny.
Hey there.
Hey. Okay. Hey, Liz. So we got Liz, Joe, and Amy. Okay. We'll give it another second or so because I never know. I never know. I'm always surprised. Like, okay, who's here today? Okay. Journals at the ready?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. I feel like it's been so long.
I know. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been so long.
And I have a sense of like, how is everyone? It feels a little bit like there's a need to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, I really need this one. I really
Mhm.
need for this one to happen today. So I do. All right. Where's my little timer thingy? All right, let me pull out my little timer thingy. All right. So even though mine is saying one after the hour, I'm gonna give it one more minute. Are you all okay with that? Just giving
Yeah,
it
that's
another minute. Okay. Oh, you know what? Now that I have you all here, maybe you can get started with something. Did you notice that I put something in the chat? I never do that. I put one word in the chat, and that's my word, messy. So I was going to ask everybody when we got started to think
I
about
don't
what's
see
the one
that.
word. Do you see it?
Mm-mm.
not.
Oh, it didn't come through? Oh, maybe I had to redo it.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
you
Okay.
have to be here.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So on my end, it looks like I typed it
Hey,
twice.
Kelly.
I thought I was getting ahead of the game. Hey,
Yeah.
Kelly. Okay.
Hello.
So
And it
what
might
you
not be there for Kelly yet because she came after the word was there.
Kelly, do you see anything in the chat?
No.
Okay. No worries, because what I'll tell you verbally is what my word is. Okay. So here's what I'd like for you all to do as we wait another 30 seconds or so for anybody else who might join us. In thinking about this 10-day series, and I'm putting the word 10-day series in quotation marks because it is still ongoing. I've got scenarios that have not closed out. And if I'm being honest with myself, I sometimes have to get myself ready to get into the mode to even go into them. So it's taking much longer than what my naive self had initially planned for and anticipated. So this 10-day series has turned into a 2 month plus type of endeavor. Um, so what I wanted to start with was to ask each person to think about the one word that for you captures what this series has been like for you. My one word is messy. And I may not necessarily ask you to explain it or talk around it, but I certainly wanted to get each person's one word.
Evan's struggling to come in.
Oh, Evan's struggling to come in.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't mean that to be funny, but I don't know why that just hit me as Evan is struggling to come in. Okay, let's see if we can help him. Husbander, is there anything we can do to help?
I see Evan nowhere.
We see Evan nowhere trying to come in, not in the
So he
waiting
sent
room.
he sent a message on the chat,
Oh,
on a WhatsApp chat. So
yeah.
Oh, what's up?
So I can't see to
Can
help.
somebody drop the Zoom link into the
I'll do that.
and the password?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Hi everyone. I'm not blurring by on purpose. Every once in a while on my computer, all of the little tools at the top, like microphone and camera, decide to stop working. So I think I might have to reboot and come in because it would feel very rude not to be showing you my face. Um,
Well,
so
isn't
I
technology just beautiful?
Oh,
I'm shaking my hands over my head in agreement that yes, the word beautiful in all of the senses from Bahamas. Yes. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to reboot and I will be right back, and hopefully maybe I'll beat even Evan.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay,
Kelly, it's
okay.
so great to see you. Thank
I know
you for
I've missed you
being
all.
here. Oh, it's so great to see you, Kelly. Okay. All right. So hopefully this beginning stuff, we can get all of these little technology glitches all worked out. But while we wait for Evan to try to join us and for Kristen to come back, I'm going to take a peek at the chat so far. And so let's see. Ooh, wow. Wow. All I can say is wow at this point. Yeah. These one word captures are just everything, right? I'm actually going to start jotting some of these down instead of waiting for it to come to me afterwards in a printout. I'm going to write some of these down now. Ooh. And I would encourage you to do the same if any one of them just hits you. Ah, okay. Okay. Hmm. I think the one that's really, really hitting me though is the one that Liz typed in. That exposed one is like, whoo, that's a whoo child for me. Whoo, yeah. Okay. Okay. Do we have anybody in the waiting room? Let me take a peek to see. Okay. All right. So yeah, I have no idea what's going on with Evan. And I'm
I
hoping
sent in the link, so I hope it works.
okay, and I'm hoping that Kristen will be able to reboot and join us. Okay. All right. All right. So we're already past, we're 7 past the hour. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. What I want to say about these words is this, and I'm noticing that the word growth has shown up twice. And so hopefully you are thinking what I'm thinking, especially when it comes to something like this series that we are still in. The growth, the learning, and the unlearning, it's not necessarily going to be nice, neat, pretty, clean, organized, structured. And I'll tell you, that stretches me. That stretches me in terms of the series, but it also stretches me in terms of these labs too, because that's one of the ways that my brain regulates is when I have control, I have structure, I have organization. Anything that pushes me out of those, it, yeah, it's a lot for me. And just to give you an example of how today is going to be different, and I'm purposely modeling what you all or all of us went through. I'm going to be in my discomfort zone for this entire lab. And just to give you an idea of what that might mean, 30 minutes before we were due to start, my husband Jer sends me this text, and it was just a 3-word question. It said, "No slides today?" And I responded back to him and I said, "No slides today. The vibe is different today." That is a heartbeat flutter type thing for me because I usually will plan. You know, I've got my slides, the opening slides, I've got my scenario thing all worked out, I've got a flow. Today, I am immersing myself into the messy. The messy means that I have not super planned for this session. The messy means there are no slides. The messy means I'm going to be toggling between my phone, where I keep a lot of the things that I jotted down as I was going through the scenarios. It means that I'm going to be looking at this very rough thing that I printed out of my notes when I was typing out my notes. So I will be toggling all over the place. And for me, that symbolizes the messy. So I'm hoping that you all will indulge me and go there with me, especially for those of you who may be similarly wired, where you like a little bit of structure and organization to these labs. That is not today. That is not going to be the vibe today. And so for those of you who are just joining us, which would be Kristen and welcome Evan, in the chat, we have all dropped our one word to capture what this series has been like for us. So you'll see those one words in the chat. If you're like wondering what's going on in the chat, that's what's going on. And so, with that being said, I have two questions that I do want to ask. Um, what are you unlearning about calling in Black or brown folks? And it's not hypothetical. It's not something that I want you to right off the bat start responding to in your journal. I just want us to just have a chat. Like, what are you unlearning about calling in Black and brown folks?
That I'm never going to do it properly immediately on the spot off the bat, period.
Mm.
Not to say that I'm not wanting to,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to screw up continually for the rest of my life. Even if I get a couple of bravas from TMR, the next day I'm going to totally step in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great way to say that things fluctuate and they change from, I think in one of my comments to somebody, I even said, you don't know what kind of a response you're going to get. I mean, character TMR can change from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. She may be receptive 1 minute, and then the next minute, she might be dragging you because you may have touched a nerve that you didn't know she had, and maybe she didn't even know she had, and then she's going to let you have it. I would say the same thing about the Black and brown folks that you're in relationship with. Because if so many of us are carrying unaddressed trauma, then who knows what and who and what circumstances can trigger it. And we don't necessarily know how it's going to be voiced. We don't know how it's going to show up. That's why when we talked about the 3 R's before, the emphasis that I placed on relationship was heavy. And I would say it needs to be even heavier now because you all were dealing with someone that you are in relationship with, simulating a different character. I don't know what your relationships are like with Black and brown folks in your networks, but I do know enough about what we carry that goes spoken and unspoken to know that it is going to be a very unpredictable situation when you call in a Black or a brown person. It's going to be unpredictable. Thank you, Kristen. Who else? What are you unlearning about calling in Black and brown folks?
For me, I think that it's just letting go of my need to prepare. And not that I don't want to be mindful and to be leaning into the work that I've learned, but to respond in the moment and to be able to be in relationship with someone, even if I don't know them, that I'm extending them that care that is required to be able to call in a way that is not going, or there's probably very few times that it's not going to cause any amount of harm or discomfort, but in a way that they know that I am extending, not out of whiteness bullshit, but out of relationship.
Yeah.
So that immediate need to try to stick my nose in something that isn't mine to be in, and then my ability to respond in relationship, not just from a place of white superiority, white fixing, white whatever. So that's what I'm trying to lean into and unlearn, is that I need to be able to respond in the moment in the least harmful way as possible.
You actually bring up something very interesting, Amy, as it relates to in the moment, because as many of these words we probably can all relate to, whether it's messy, exposed, eye-opening, intense growth. Here's the thing that I'm hoping that none of us will forget. We had the benefit of time, right? None of these were in the moment. You had an opportunity to think through them. You could have waited days or months to even respond to something. We don't get that benefit in real life, do we? We don't get to say, well, you know what, Amy? Um, I want to call you out, but let me just earmark this moment and I'll come back to you tomorrow and call you and finish and call you out. I need to go think about what I want to say, but I want to call you out. So I just want you to know I need to make an appointment with you to drag you tomorrow.
Mhm.
We
And
don't get to do
that
that,
was
right?
important to me. To respond as soon as I saw it was important.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
And not
to
all of us can do that because again, that
exactly.
is one of the benefits of an asynchronous community that gives
Yes.
all of us that flexibility. But I do get what you're saying, Amy. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. No.
I do get that.
And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to drag anybody else for not doing that. I'm just saying that for me, that was important
Yeah.
to try to do.
Yeah. All right, Liz, what are you unlearning?
Even the ones that went well didn't feel well.
Mhm.
And I think that actually made me question, why would it feel well if I'm doing it with someone who's white? So like why would it feel good? And so I think it made me reflect just as much on any call-in or any of that process. Just because like this, none of them felt good. Even though there were a couple that didn't go all that well, but even the ones that went just fine didn't feel good. So
Mm.
like why would I have expected it to?
Mm. And you know what else you're making me think about too? And of course, what's most recent on my mind are the responses that I made yesterday because I said to myself, even though this is so heavy for me, I will commit to making sure that I at least go in and refresh my memory before the lab. So some of you may have noticed a stream of notifications. Whoa, Teresa is really busy responding to people on the the day before the lab. I did that because I needed to get back into the space. I actually needed to feel again what I was feeling, both as character TMR and as myself. And so, what I think a lot of us may have, well, that's not fair to say that. I'm wondering if a lot of us lost sight of two very important distinctions. And Evan actually said it a couple of times in his responses that kept it on my radar screen. So here we have these scenarios. And so you have Teresa, me, who's being character TMR, and I'm asking you to call out character TMR. But at no point were any of you ever to be a character other than yourself. Each of you needed to call out character TMR as yourself. You needed to be you, no matter whether you were conflating Teresa and character TMR. You still needed to be you. And so, what I liked about some of what Evan did was before he would respond, he would say something to just kind of couch where he was going and where his mindset was. It's really hard for me to think of Teresa actually saying something like this, or I think about the one-on-one relationship that I have with Teresa, and it's almost like he was trying to get himself grounded in the scenario before he even engaged in it with character TMR. So I just wonder how many of you were very deliberate that you yourself were being you versus turning yourself into character Liz or character Joe, character Amy, character Kristen. All right, I got two hands going up. I don't know which one came first. I think Joe, then Evan. Okay.
Yeah. It sort of that sort of related to what I thought about my unlearning and what I guess this is more learning than unlearning, but it's both. But it was really important. It felt like the better answers or the answers that I felt better about, because I know what Liz means about whether it felt good or not at all. Was it when it felt like it was really authentic and like a human connection and relationship, human first. And what you had to unlearn was anything about perfection and slickness and kind of
Mm,
like right answers. So
yeah.
those ones felt the best, that it felt like, and they were ones that like, there was one in particular, I thought, I'm just going to like throw caution to the wind here and I'm just going to say what I'm thinking and be
Mhm.
just like totally taking a risk, because honestly, that's how I learned better. And that was one of the ones TMR responded better to. Now, hopefully I got on the
Okay.
right day, but it was also, it felt like, oh, that's a good thing to tune into yourself. The more authentic you are, the more just human to human connection you have, the more likely you will be to stay in connection, even if you go wrong.
Mm,
So
mm,
forget about trying to present well.
yeah. And I think also at a certain point, and Evan, I'll get to you in just a second. I also think another key thing to remember is whether it's Teresa or whether it's character TMR or whether it's some other Black or brown person that you cannot put them in a pattern such that I pretty much know how she's going to respond to this. Or I heard her say this to somebody else, so then I'm going to predict that she's probably gonna. You just don't know. The only person you know is who?
So,
Yeah, it's the you piece that you kind of have to be more of a quote unquote expert on versus the one that you're calling in. Evan.
Okay, so a iteration of community 3 years ago, whenever the first one was,
Uh-huh.
this is the unlearning part. There was a session where in the session we were to decide what we would do in the instance of two Black people having an argument.
Mm-hmm.
One Black person was being very Trumpy, and
Sorry, I'm sorry. I apologize. That just came out of just that is so Evan though. I'm sorry. You actually actually a gift that you have. You were able to diffuse character TMR with humor, and you also do it for Teresa, I would say. Okay, one Black person was acting quite Trumpy. Proceed.
the takeaway was don't get involved. Just stay away. This is not for you. You can only do harm. This I took that lesson. I'm like, got it. I'm not going into any of those. This lesson was 10 instances of go in anyway, do your best. So there was just this huge awareness of how am I going to do this without doing harm?
Okay.
How am I going to not white splain my way? How am I going to do this without white splaining? And I most of them I wouldn't have ordinarily responded to, maybe because I was conditioned from 3 years ago. I don't think I
Okay.
would have responded at all. And if I would have responded, it would have been like, what have you done with Teresa? Where's Teresa? Is she in there? Like,
Oh,
Teresa taught me this.
yes.
Why are we going down this road suddenly?
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And it is really unfortunate that all 10 of those scenarios hit you as being Trumpy, because here's what I was deliberate, or I thought I was deliberate in doing. A lot of these were very, should have been, or I thought were very subtle. Like on their face, there were quite a few of them where you had to think twice. And the one that jumps out at me the most would be the very last one, which I deliberately saved for last, because on its face, it didn't really sound like I was saying anything that needed to be called in. And I certainly myself would not have described scenario 10 or any of the other ones as being Trumpy. Perhaps there were two that for me crossed the line into Trumpy territory, but for the most part, I did not want these to be easy and clear cut for you all because I wanted you to chew your teeth.
No.
I wanted you to chew your teeth on some that would really push and challenge you. But Evan, go on.
No, the Trumpy one was 3 years ago.
Okay.
These were, in fact, several of these. At first, I was sort of agreeing, like, oh yeah, but then you explained in the preamble, in the setup,
Okay.
why this was, and I was okay, and you actually kind of gave us hints as to the answer when you did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I did.
I thought, because in a lot of those, I wouldn't have noticed it, like more than half.
And to be quite honest with you, Evan, I wanted these to be challenging, but at the same time, I didn't want them to be so challenging where you felt like, I don't know what to call in. So all of that information that you call in the preamble, I felt like even though the scenarios were subtle and they're not obvious Trumpy like things that that character TMR would say, I still needed to give you some of the parameter. And honestly, again, I saved number 10 for the last one for a reason, because so many of you do that and say that. And so I wanted that one to really be the one that we use to close this out. Kristen, and then Amy, I see your hand up as well. Kristen. Oh, I think your microphone is off. Kristen, you're still on mute?
I was still on mute. I
Okay.
forgot. Sorry.
Okay.
This is explains my week. My week has been a month. This is disjointed now, but something to make me think of this. I have no guile to pretend to be anything other than what I am. And as soon as we can craft for hours, as I think Evan so eloquently wrote. But as soon as I open my mouth, God knows what's going to. Oh, I don't know how to lower my hand. Cancel. Lower your hand.
It'll do it anyway.
Lower hand. There we go. Okay. So in the moment in person, who knows how it would go. Also, Evan, yes, we were told do not get in the middle of two Black folks talking. In fact, even sometimes I'm like, ooh, no, back away. Do not like or not like their conversation because it's none of your damn business, right? The other thing, and again, I think Evan, you made me think of this, character TMR could throw a curveball to push us past. Let's say we've actually used something like this answer in the past. Well, character TMR could come in and be like, and say, what if the person says this? So this exercise went way beyond anything I think you could have done with this. Or it was brilliant, and calling myself out. No, some of us did take a very long time to respond. Someone's would be me. And now I'm done. Thank you.
And you know what? I wrote myself a note because I got notes in my phone on this whole series. I wrote myself a note that said, scripts are guidance, not guarantees.
Yeah.
So all of the things that we talked about before, those are great rule of thumbs to know. But at the same time, do you have the discernment to be able to pivot based on circumstances, based on the context, based on other nuances that you should be better at observing and picking up now? Now, in terms of when two Black folks are going at it, that's still a very strong rule of thumb. Do not get involved. Walk away. Because you know what? At a certain point, even if the two Black folks make up, they're going to remember your ass. And you may not be able to come back from that. But yeah, there's just so much. There's just so much. Amy.
I think I really, one thing that was important to me was to try to stay rooted in the scenario, each of the scenarios, the instructions on the call-in and the scenarios. And I remember you talking with us about how the first iteration, was about where we were at then, and that this is about where we need to be growing now. And so it was, I thought many of them were absolutely things that I run into in real life. And so the types of comments from more white people than I do Black people, but I have had the situation and I have struggled in real time to be able to find the right way to bring those things to the fore, because I know, and I think I put one of those scenarios in one time, and it's so important that we can do it in real time. and can be in relationship that way. This was a tremendous exercise, and we have had side conversations about how all of us, I think, hate that even though there was character Teresa, you were behind character Teresa, and that the harm didn't stop at character Teresa. It extended to you. And it it was a tremendous and continues to be a tremendous gift that you extended throughout this process. And I can't even, I said this, I think, to Evan on Tuesday. I'm like, none of us would have done it. None of
Well,
us would have had that tolerance to, I say that. I should not speak for anyone else. I think that at some point I would have become defensive. I would have become, you know, there would have been a definite leeching of the the two people, and I would have
well,
lost my ability to stay in it as
well, let's not give me such high praise because here's the thing. Teresa could get defensive and use character TMR as a shield, couldn't she? There are things that could trigger Teresa, and then she could put those things in the words of character TMR. Who's to say that I did not do that
sure.
30% of the time, 50% of the time, 100% of the time? And so, what I will say is this series, do not be quick to position it as a gift to all of
Mm,
you. I also want you to think about how it becomes a mutual gift, especially
mhm.
because of the things that kept coming up for
Abs-
me. If you will recall, it is during this series that I finally made the decision to release one of our community members from this community. And I'm wondering if I would have done that if we had not been going through this series and I myself had not been processing and working through certain things. This series also helped me to further define me as Teresa and where I stand on certain things, and also just the continuing self work that I need to do in this space. I said something 3 days ago that my husband called me out on, and it was actually a comment that I made that would signify anti Blackness. And he called me on it. And I was grateful for that because nobody is immune to this stuff. None of us. We're just not immune because this is what we've known. This is how we've been conditioned and programmed. So please do not be quick to say this was a gift that Teresa gave you all. This is what we do in community with each other. And so, with that being said, here's what I'd like to transition to. I've got 6 of you with me today. And I'd like to go person by person. And I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. I would like to hear from each person. Give me one tangible piece of learning that you would consider a takeaway from this series. Just one thing that you've learned, and position it in such a way that it might give somebody else something to think about. All right, so I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute, but I also want to create a space. Does anybody have a question about what I'm asking you to respond to? Okay, I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. Okay, there's my 1 minute. One learning that you can share with us. Shall I go in order, just call a name, or do I get volunteers and we'll just take it from there? I can go either way. All
As you
right, I'm
wish.
gonna just call out a name. All right, Joe, you're up first. A learning from you.
To be more courageous, self-trusting, and with the authentic bit, be ready to take relational risks while attending to relationships and actions, not words.
Okay. Amy. Your microphone is on mute.
Thank you. Just because it gets beautiful and messy, I can't back away. I'm not entitled to the luxury of time.
Okay. All right. Liz.
I really understood why relationship was the first piece in your thing. There was one specific one that character TMR responded in a way that I think I really had to dig into, like, what the relationship aspect was to be able to like ground myself in it, because like there was one specific that kind of threw me, and I think really grounding in like that relationship is that biggest component of it. So
Kelly.
So mine is sort of more specific to my answers, but I really need to be cautious about asking questions. And that is an example where intent and impact are at odds. And you saw that, you pointed that out to me. And so just I can't ask questions or present information that puts the onus on the Black or brown person interacting.
Okay. Evan.
Just going off script for a second to what Kelly said, that was also a learning because I saw people asking questions and your response was that created work for you. That was a very early learning. Anyway, my learning was the word engage that was used in the setups. I found that when I tried to engage in conversation to get a back and forth going, that it was most productive. So despite the learning lab 3 years ago, there might be reasons to intervene sometimes. It's possible, and although it's a tightrope, there might be a way to get a point across without doing harm, and there might be a positive outcome if you engage properly.
Okay. All right. Kristen.
So Kelly, I was nodding while you were speaking because my language is somewhat similar in all of this. Where possible, and possible is, oof, that's the tightrope to Evan's point, to implicate myself, to make it shared rather than accusatory. And again, where possible, using curiosity, not correction, but the curiosity can lead to, you seriously want me to explain that for you too, you old white lady? I don't think so. So nothing is perfect.
Okay. All right. And so here's mine. Relationships and being in relationship with someone else is messy. It's okay to lean into the messy, because messiness does not destroy a real relationship. It actually can deepen it. And of course, I'm being wordy, but I think about how messy we can be with the people we love the most. There are things that I could say to my husband, Jer, that I would not ever say to anybody else. And it's because of the deepness that we have where we could share those things with each other. So, full disclosure, Teresa had a lot of influence on character TMR in terms of how character TMR was showing up with different people. There are two people in this community that character TMR was the absolute hardest on, probably because of the nature of that relationship. I'm in relationship with people where we come together more than just a lab or in community. We share a lot of things together outside of the community, outside of lab. And so, full disclosure, character TMR was probably deliberately harder on those two individuals. And so I want to take this opportunity to just say that does not mean that those two individuals were just blowing it. It actually ended up being a kind of cool thing, that character TMR could go there with those two individuals just based on the nature of that relationship. So I just wanted to say that as well. All right, I want to pivot because I do have three people who responded in such a way where I was like, okay, we got to use this. So you probably have noticed that today's vibe is we're not going to the breakout room. We're all staying together the whole time. And that's on purpose because remember, this is a different, messy vibe today. And so here are the three scenarios that I want to make sure I get to because I want for all of us to be very clear on what makes these brilliant, what makes these unique, what makes these work. And these are three that I pulled out that worked well, not just for character TMR, but also worked well for Teresa. So they were like the full package. And so here's the first one. And this one had to do with scenario number 4. Scenario number 4, and of course, I had to go back to my notes because I need to tell you what scenario 4 is before I tell you how this person called in character TMR. This one was the one-on-one conversation between you and me. No other audience, right? So we're talking privately about both of us seeing that post, that LinkedIn post where the white male person called somebody the angry black woman. And so this person was supposed to call me in because what character TMR ended up saying was, I agree that what the white guy said was out of line, but there is a way to say things without being so aggressive. I just think she meaning the black woman, I just think the black woman could have landed her point better. And then my instructions to all of you was call in character TMR, call her in. And so I got this response from Joe and I tagged everybody on it. Here's how Joe called in TMR. She says, as a reforming tone policer, this conversation is resonating some kind of way in my body, making me think I need to pause and reflect on this one. When I have had these kinds of thoughts about how people could have expressed themselves differently, as I often have, I have started asking myself, can a black woman not express her anger? Would I react this way if she was racialized as white or as a man? Why am I centering the comfort of whiteness, white men? Am I just being a vehicle for whiteness? That's how Joe called in character TMR. And once she did that, I immediately ended the scene. And I said, brilliant. And I even dropped a few things that let everybody and her know why it was brilliant. So now I'm asking the question, what made that brilliant? I'm posing it to all of you. What made that brilliant?
The way that she took responsibility for her own, the way that she has participated in that form of whiteness as an example without ever implicating you as, or character TMR as being the one doing the thing.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
Yeah. She did not call in TMR directly. She indirectly called in character TMR by engaging in out loud reflecting about herself. Brilliant. Because one of the things I wanted you all to think about as we're going through this series is how to call us in without calling us in. That is brilliant, a brilliant strategy. She never used the pronoun you because, sometimes based on where we are, you could come off as accusatory. It's putting me on the defensive. She never used never used you. And when she did use I to refer to herself, it was a part of her self-reflective process. So then what it gave me the opportunity is I retain my dignity, I retain whatever sense of self I needed to have, while at the same time giving me the opportunity to come alongside of her either silently or even saying something out loud, to just come alongside her and go, yeah, to be called in without being called in. It was brilliant. It was very non-centering. It was just brilliant. And I just wanted everybody to understand why that was brilliant. And I wanted to have you to add that to your list of tools. When you are out loud reflecting on yourself, that is a beautiful strategy. It's a beautiful strategy. It really was. And again, she focused on the relationship implicitly, but the nature of the relationship gave her the license to engage in that kind of self-reflecting. So beautiful. There are two more that I want to share with you before I give you some of my ramblings from my phone. This one, and I love the way this kind of turned out. This one was about the book club scenario. Do you remember that one? So white lady hosting the book club said some kind of dumb fuckery. And then character TMR came in and agreed with her. And I gave you all the option. I said, you know what? You can either call character TMR in publicly or you can call her in privately. And we have the benefit of having two really great examples of a public call in and a private one. So here's the public one. This one came from Jen. So take a listen. And if you recall, I basically agreed with some dumb fuckery around coming across either staying silent or angry or whatever. I don't want to use the time to read through the scenario, but is this ringing a bell for anybody? Okay, wonderful. All right. So this is what Jen said. Let me go back to what I printed out. Okay, so here we go. This is what Jen said, and she's doing this publicly. All right. Teresa, I'm hearing tone policing from the white lady host, and I don't like it. Based on what I'm observing in this room, I don't think I'm the only one noticing this. Are you good with me explaining in this space why that is harmful, even potentially deadly to Black and brown people? And then in parentheses, she says, and if character TMR says yes, and then this is what she's going to be saying. White lady host, your white privilege is showing. I'm disappointed that you're not angry, nor are you using your anger to take some action on behalf of your Black and brown siblings who are at risk from white people who expect their emotional discipline in the face of never-ending racism. It's infinitely more safe for you to be mad and show it than it is for any Black or brown person. We're here talking about leadership, and what you said is not leadership. So miss me with your tone policing. And then she has a parenthetical part for me for character TMR. If character TMR had said no, I'd rather for you not to say anything. And she said if character TMR had said no, then she would have said, got it. And then she would have said to the white lady host, I'll follow up with you about this after the book club meeting. What risk did Jen take, and why was this also brilliant? Did she take any risks, Joe? What's going on here with what Jen did?
I think more than the brilliance, she sought your permission. So again, and when you said that earlier, I made a note of like the dignity and the importance of respect, because there's something about, how respect and disrespect is so detonating in black and white politics. So I think that sort of like seeking permission and being respectful was a very good strategy.
That was a great strategy. Yeah. And what Jen did in asking the question is, and she also is remembering something to Evan's point around the first iteration of Community about not jumping in to be the white savior and just treating me like I don't have agency. I can't speak for myself. I need the white people to come save me all the time. In asking, she actually diffused that piece of it. But what else was going on here with what Jen was doing?
He actually circumvented character TMR. So other than
Boom.
engaging in your permission to address, she didn't even talk to you about agreeing with the white host. So
Bingo. That's it. That's the piece that I was looking for. Thank you, Liz. I even in my phone assigned a description for that. I called it the proximity call in, where you're calling in character TMR, but you're doing it and you're using the white person as proxy. I'm calling character TMR in because she's getting this stuff too. She's hearing it, but I'm addressing it to white lady who got the whole thing started. That to me is proximity call in. That also is a strategy for you all to think about and how you could utilize that one going forward. She asked permission and she used the proximity call in. That was brilliant. Okay, so that was the public piece. And then I had somebody else in this community who's with us today, Kristen. She decided she was going to use the private call in. And it's still the book club scenario. So let me go back because I printed out hers as well. And let me read you how Kristen called in character TMR. And again, because it was so brilliant, I immediately jumped in and did an and scene. We're done. This was brilliant. All right, so here we go. So this is what Kristen says. And remember, she's doing it privately. It's just me and her. Hey, Teresa, do you have a few minutes? I wanted to check in about something from the book club. And then, of course, in parentheses, she makes sure she says, we're assuming that character TMR says yes. Okay. And so then she proceeds with, when you talked about anger affecting credibility, I felt something in me pause. I realized I don't actually know what you were holding when you said that. I could imagine it coming from lived experience, from knowing how real the consequences can be for Black and brown women when they're seen as too much. I wondered if in the room it came across like being calm was being treated as the price of being taken seriously. If you're open to sharing, what was underneath that for you? What is brilliant about what Kristen did?
She asked, the question was centered in empathy and in sharing the lived experience that might be creating the response versus asking to be educated about why,
Mm.
this
Mm.
is
So
harmful.
notice at the end, she did end up asking me the question. Imagine if she had flip-flopped that and she immediately came at me with the question. That to character TMR is okay. So now you coming to me and you're asking me to explain to you X, Y, and Z. She grounded herself in the relationship and she centered the relationship and she centered curiosity while decentering herself. So by the time she got to the end where she was asking me a question, I myself was more receptive, more primed because of
Okay.
the relationship and because of the curiosity being centered in a way that honored the relationship while decentering herself. Brilliant. So for this one, the brilliance lies in not just the fact that she centered the relationship, she centered the curiosity, but she got the sequencing right. Because you know what? Some of you may have quote unquote said the right things, but you fucked up the sequence in how you called in character TMR. And she went ballistic on you because you got the sequence wrong. You had the ingredients, but you mixed them up and you ordered them wrong. So that was brilliant. So her question did not sound like she was demanding emotional labor. It didn't sound like she was wanting to just pick my brain so I could educate her. It didn't sound like any of that because she had laid the proper groundwork. Those are the three that I wanted to highlight for you all. Any thoughts or comments? Because I'm going to move to my phone because I'm respectful of the time. This is a different vibe today, but I am looking at my clock to know that I've only got 6 minutes left. Thoughts, comments about any of the scenarios and responses that you've heard?
Yeah, and this is one where I guess we can say that no recipe is ever perfect. That, character TMR could have well said, no, I'm not sharing. But something I wanted to say was I forgot to say, what if she says no, I don't want to say. So I forgot to think that through. And I think Jen did that, right?
Mhm.
Whether I forgot or I didn't do it, regardless, I didn't do it. So I just
And
wanted to
so
call
here's the
myself out on
thing.
that.
So here's the thing. Remember when we first introduced this series, one of the things that I was wanting folks to focus on was KRIs. Does anybody remember what KRI stood for? Key
Key
Reach
risk
Indicators.
indicate risk reach. Okay.
Key Reach Indicator. How do you yourself determine the quote unquote success of a call in? Is it because I say yes or no to a question?
Mm.
Because if that's how you're determining it, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle with the call ins. Your key determinants for success cannot rely on just whether I answer a question yes or no that you've asked me. They've got to rely on something more than that. And that something more than that has to come from you and all the things that you have learned over the course of you being in this space and being committed to this space. But that's a great comment to make, Kristen. All right. Oh, that's been a lot. And I'm hoping as I'm sitting here, as I'm going through these, I'm getting goosebumps again because one of the things I will say, I wrote messy in the chat, but if I could write any more words in the chat, there would be more than just messy that I would write because there was so much to be encouraged by. There was so much to be hopeful about. There were places where I was so proud of you all. There were places where, yeah, I wanted to strangle you, but yeah, I love you anyway, and I will love you through the strangling. There were some of you that actually have a great talent for diffusing situations with humor. Evan, that is such a huge gift of yours. You make character TMR and Teresa smile. And because you're able to do that, I think you probably get extra grace. Joe, you have such a cautiously caring way to approach a situation, and you're so quick to turn it around on yourself. Um, Liz and Amy, this for me is probably one of the most beautiful ironies of this community. The two of you who have your own storied history, each of you are so dear to me in terms of what we share outside of this community. And to see both of you just come to character TMR and handle these call ins with such grace and messiness and willingness to jump in and mess up. Because I will tell you, for almost all of them, I felt like Liz and Amy were the first two to jump right in. We're going to just jump right in, we're going to go for it. So to be able to see that made my heart smile. And Kristen, just to see you, the only person who has called out Teresa in real life, be able to come in and reinforce that through the simulated call ins. I just was witnessing so many beautiful, and I'm using the word beautiful in the traditional way.
Intentionally. Okay.
I was observing just so many beautiful things. So I've got 2 minutes remaining. I'm going to my phone and I want to share some of what my brain was processing because I would read some things and think something, and then I would say, character TMR can't say this, but Teresa can say this. I want to be able to save it and capture it. So I put stuff in my phone. All right. So, and sometimes it was just an observation that I wanted to go back and capture. These are not in any particular order. Um, Question, how does sequencing affect how the call-in might land? I've already kind of touched on that with Kristen examples. Sequencing is important. Please make a note of that for yourself, okay? Because I think some of you beat yourself on the head with, I messed this up. It may have just been a sequencing thing. Think about going back and looking at some of your call-ins and saying, if I rearranged this and if I had said this first and then transition into that, could that have gone better? We don't know because you're shot, you already took it, but it might give you something to think about. I also wrote a note that said relationship is currency. How can you ground it and weave it throughout the call-in? And you know what? I will share all of these in the debrief so that you don't have to rush and write them down because I do want you to just kind of listen. I don't want to see heads down as you're writing. I really just want you all to listen if you don't mind. I promise you, I have them and I will share them, but these were just the way my brain was working. I wrote down boomerang call out. Here's what you need to know about the boomerang call out. And if you're not ready for it, you're still needing to practice in this space. When you call in a Black or a brown person, please always be prepared for a boomerang call out. And what that means is we will turn that shit around on you. If you hit us the wrong way, we're going to turn that shit around on you and we're going to call you out about something. So I love the way Kelly said it recently. If you don't have your shit together in a certain area or a space around something, don't come to us. You're not ready to call us in. You're just not ready. I also wrote down this survival politics. Black and brown people engage in what we call survival politics. That's not to say that we are sellouts, but we know that we've got to oftentimes walk the line between being perceived as difficult or angry or rebellious because we know that there are real consequences. So there may be times when you think that we are embracing whiteness narratives. We're not. We're really walking that fine line of survival politics. Maybe one day I feel like I can say it like this, but there may be another day where I still need to say something, but I'm going to need to say it like this because every single day we've got considerations around mortgage, around paying the bills, around eating and feeding our families. So we're walking a fine line, and survival politics for us is so real. I already said this one. Scripts are guidance, they're not guarantees. You already have that one. Oh, something else. And this one I actually took from something that Joe said to a side comment that she made to Teresa in one of these scenarios. She said that there are some recommended engagement pointers that character TMR hated. Those are things that Teresa gave you, and they're very script-like. Things to say and scripts have their usefulness if you know how to use them. If you become rigid and you don't know how to pivot or deviate from them, they can be the kiss of death. Because one of the things that Joe said was when she said, "Can you say more?" to character TMR, TMR went ballistic and lost her shit. Excuse me? Can I say more? Hell, what do you want from me? I've already told you X, Y, and Z. Now do you want me to educate you? So you have to be very careful how you use the guidance. Based on sequencing, based on context, can you say more might work, but it might not. It might not. This is about messiness. This lab is about messiness. The scenarios are about messiness. Guess what? Real life is messy. Relationships are messy. If we get rigid, we're going to mess up. We're going to make it harder for ourselves. Okay, those are the notes that I had in my phone. I will you know me, I'll probably give them to you and then add extra. I've already kept you past the hour. I apologize for that. Thank you for hanging in there with me. This has been a different vibe today. This has been a different vibe. And so with
Thank
that
you for
being
hanging in
said,
there with us
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
we hang in there with each
together.
other. We hang in there with each other. And also, on a side note, this is kind of a joke, but kind of not. And it goes back to me finally working up the courage to release someone from this community. One of the things that I did notice, and I might be wrong, based on how I ended my announcement, letting you all know why the release needed to happen from my perspective, I felt like I was getting some of that. Shucks, I'm scared to say anything about it because of the way she ended. I don't even think I want to say anything. So I was getting one-liner comments from people, and in my head, I'm going, are they scared shitless now to even offer up any thorns about this decision I made? So I wanted to reassure you that I am still Teresa. I am still Teresa. I was just trying to give you all some insight into what I had been grappling with for quite a while now. And I ended the announcement the way that I did because I wanted everybody to be clear that I ain't nobody's pushover. And this whole grace season that I've been in for a while now, it does not become something that I want people to think I'm going to take advantage of that. I will not be thrilled with that. And I will call you on it. I will call you on it. So that's how I wanted to end it. But I feel like I scared people. So,
Teresa, did you know how much work it was going to be for you, that 10-day series?
went into it stupid.
That's what I came out of. I sort of thought, oh my goodness, she did not see that coming.
I went into that so stupid, so very, very stupid. And in my head, I'm going, freaking hell, you set 10 days. You didn't even do 5, you did 10. What the hell is wrong with you?
I wondered
Just to
if you had
clear, it
ever
was
done this before and
so
you were like borrowing it from another.
No, here's the
Okay.
thing. And you all, like I said, you all are a gift to me. There are some things that you all are the beta for before I try shit out on, real client. Not that didn't come out right, but I hope you understand what I'm saying.
We get
You
it.
all are real, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing that shit with the client. I'm not doing that. Or if I do it, we're going to focus on one.
Mm.
We're not doing 10. We're not doing a series. Hell no. I had no clue. And again, there were moments where I could feel the heaviness and I was like, it's been a couple of days now. I'm gonna have to go in and see who is called in character TMR. I felt like a little kid. I don't wanna.
And I asked that,
not
Teresa,
to
because I do those things. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh no.
What did I do? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Liz.
not to make a suggestion that would terrify probably all of us and some other people, but I actually wonder if it would be useful as a breakout between you and someone else, whereas like you did a scenario live and then each person had a different scenario to tackle.
That might be
Because
the way
like,
to go.
yeah, because you'd really get that like raw in person.
Liz, you make me think of those things I've seen online where someone who has a brain sits and debates idiots. And we would be on the I side, although we're not, but it would be live testing and there would be screwing up or being beautiful in the moment. I mean, Teresa, we'll go. I think I can say collectively, we'll go wherever you want to lead us and I'll show up more timely. But
But see,
interesting.
here's the thing, pros and cons to asynchronous, because here's the thing. some of these call-ins have been lasting for like weeks and weeks. So for me, then as character TMR, I'm like, oh, damn, I got to go all the way back to the beginning to read the first thing that was said. So I'm revisiting the trauma, I'm revisiting the emotion and the heaviness in order to be able to respond to the latest thing you've said. And so that's the stupid piece that I did not take into full account. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And if any of you who have sensitive microphones, my husbander is in the background saying, dumbass, calling me a dumbass.
I
But
didn't
see,
pick that up.
that's
I wish I had.
I know.
that's the relationship piece that he knows he can call me a dumbass, but then he also knows that I too can call him a dumbass. So so much, but you know what? Relationships are messy. It may be a beautiful thing that I didn't consider all the pieces because one of my challenges is I have control issues. My brain is always about this structure, control, never let them see you sweat. I need to be structured, organized. I've got the slides. I know what we're doing from moment to moment. This turned all of that on its head. So it was revealing things about me. I was being exposed to myself. And then through all of this, I was like, what the heck are you doing? What the heck are you doing? I've got stuff that's been hanging over my head that I have been avoiding and haven't dealt with. And so Kelly Fuller was one of the things on my list to deal with. And there are other things that are also simultaneously being dealt with that may or may not have anything to do with either of you individually, but I'm dealing with stuff. So this is the gift that keeps on giving. And I thought by the time we got to our lab that all of the scenarios would be finished, but they're still going on. And I'm okay with that because I do want them to play out. And until you see the and scene, yours is still active. And so we'll get to them when we get to them. All right. So, and it looks like Kristen had to drop off. So I'm going to say bye for now because we're already now 11 minutes after the hour. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Be messy.
Bye.
Bye all.
Be messy.
Always.
Bye.
Bye.